Certainly.
Sorry.
Oh, what the? More people have appeared.
The project started with me 7 years ago, you know, and then gradually I basically begged people to become involved.
But you beg well, because you begged some incredibly talented people to help you out with this.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. I mean, Joe Sacco was the very first person that I wrote to, and at that point, it was still, I had made my own mock book. Mike and Paul weren't involved at this point. So I had spent about a year of doing research and knew that I wanted it to be graphic novels, the writing of the displaced, their photographs. And then I wrote Joe just this long, passionate letter. And then he said yes. And then I was like, oh my God, wow. And then later on, I met Mike and Paul, and I told them that it would take 6 months, the book, to finish. And they were like, are you sure? And I was like, of course.
And it took a little longer.
It took, I mean, with the research and sort of the inception, 7 years.
Wow. But this book is, you're going around to different places, and you know, some actors, when they got a break from shooting a show, might go off to a resort somewhere in the Caribbean, but you've actually picked out some of the harshest places in the world to go visit.
This really is the sum of a deep yearning and a deep passion to feed my own ignorance, actually.
And so you had the experience of going to these different places and speaking to actual refugees about their experiences, and was that always...
Well, it's not just refugees. I mean, I think the definition of refugee began to be quite constricting to the book. So I think I still haven't quite figured out the appropriate term, but I guess speaking voiceless persons, everybody has a voice, but really seeking out stories that should be heard, people who have been cast out of society, ostracized, people who live in fear, people whose freedom have been taken away, and having them speak for themselves.
It's really the forgotten people to some extent. It's amazing how overlooked that they can be, whether it's the sex workers or the people in Chechnya or...
Sure, and in our own backyard, actually.
Right.
So, yeah.
Only clowns who play with don't believe what you are born before. Did all you see the truth? Roast and roast and roast.
So in doing this, I mean, there are a number of remarkable people and incredibly tragic stories that you pull from these people, but the resilience is also amazing to me. But in all those experiences, are there any that hit a little harder than others?
Sure. You know, meeting these child soldiers on the book who were kidnapped and taught to use guns and can't go back to their home because they escaped. They didn't want to be murderers. And they escaped, but they can't go home. Where do they go? They don't even speak the language in Thailand. They speak Burmese. They have no money. You know, what kind of a life is set up for those kids, and what kind of resources are left for these children, and how is the community looking after these children? So those stories hit home on a very deep level.
You talk about you've started your tour, and you're going out to talk to people about paper documentary. And I don't want to generalize Americans, but Americans certainly are people who want to, what can I do? I want to take home action. What am I going to do today? Is there something that people can do after they purchase I Live Here and read through it?
If people like this book, what I ask is that they please email their friends, and they tell their friends the reasons why this book is important and how it affects all of us, and that it's really important to support this project. That's a start, because the more support we have, the more we get to spread sort of this message out there, and the project's roots are always going to be in the communities themselves, so we need that grassroots support. We can't exist without it, actually.